Boom. Hello. How's everyone doing? My name's Kurt. I'm a dad who draws, and this is. What is this today? Usually at this time, we have my other class called the Daily Draw, and we get together and we draw Monday through Friday. And Fridays, we usually look at animals, but concurrently, we're also doing the 30-day drawing challenge right now. And today's topic is maps. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of combine both because we're going to do some color with some watercolors, and I thought that all my friends in the Daily Draw would enjoy this slight little change up here. So I'm glad that you're here. Let me show you what we're going to do today. We're gonna draw a map. We're gonna use a map, but we're gonna make it more illustrated. And if you happen to be in the Daily Draw and you look at today's class notes, you could see that I included a variety of other stylized maps. So that really is a bonus to my Daily Draw students. But other than that, don't worry about it. I'm gonna take you step by step how to create a fun little map like this. And what gave me the idea is when I was looking at the topics for the 30-day challenge. Thank you to Jaylyn on that. Jaylene, I'm sorry. And she had written down map. I started thinking about it and started looking to see what was out there. And they had these really cute illustrated maps. And of course, it being close to Thanksgiving time and Christmas, I started thinking of that song, Over the River and Through the Woods, To Grandmother's House We Go. And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be a cute tradition or a holiday tradition that you can paint yourself a map that kind of illustrated that story ever so slightly, and you can put it someplace. So anyways, that was a thought. So that was kind of what inspired this idea. Let's do this together. How about that? All right, so I'm going to put this up here so I could see the reference, and we'll go step by step. But here, take a look at this here. Now this, I made a little cheat sheet on the side here that I could refer to, and you might want to take a screen capture of this or something like that. And what it is I want you to think of like these as puzzle pieces. So as you are populating your map, you could just kind of look over at this cheat sheet and use it as we're doing it. In fact, I tell you what I'm going to do. I think there's enough room that I could put that right there. And then as we draw it, we can refer to this, and then we can go from there, okay? All right, let's get to work here. So as far as I'm using a very inexpensive watercolor paper. In fact, I stumbled along this brand here that I bought from YouTube. It wasn't off of Amazon. It wasn't that expensive actually, and they're small, so you could just kind of go through those sheets pretty easy without spending a lot of money on the expensive watercolor paper. But nonetheless, here is my layout here. So let's go ahead. I'm going to use a simple a Bic pencil. It's a 0.7, and you can buy these at any grocery store. And then I've got a very inexpensive case of watercolors here, and you could use any of those as well. So let's come up here, and first thing I want to do is I'm going to draw a border for this, and I'm just going to kind of come across here. Okay, there's my border for my map. And then the star, let's go ahead and get this covered bridge, because that's kind of the star of the show down here. So kind of looking at it, I'm going to stay down here, and look how easy I'm going to do this. All I'm going to do is really kind of draw a rectangle right here. Just going to draw a rectangle. And then I'm going to draw a square right over here like this. I'm going to put a triangle on top. Look at that. Bam, just like that. And then triangle across like that. That shouldn't be too difficult. Then up here, we're going to draw grandmother's house. And all we're going to do here is draw another rectangle like this. There's a roof. Look how easy these are. And then we'll put a little chimney here. Go ahead and put a door. Another door. I mean a window. And then our doorway, just like this. Now, one thing I'm going to do to make this a little bit more interesting is, you see the smoke here? I actually came up with this idea earlier today. So watch what I do. I'm gonna make smoke come out here, and then I'm gonna wait right there. Now watch this now, and then over here, it's kind of S curves. I'm gonna come to right there, and then I'm gonna erase this line right here. See, this will cause an interesting border. I'm breaking through the border there. Okay, so let's come down here now maybe, and we're gonna draw our wood. So let's keep this nice and simple here. Let's draw a circle. This will be one tree, and I could look over at this tree over here, and I could just draw a little trunk right there. Look at this tree. I'm gonna draw behind. Maybe draw another tree here, and over here, look at this. Let's do this. Let's break that border just a little bit. You see, so this starts to get a little bit interesting here. Put a trunk right there. Put maybe a tree back here and another one there. Let's come over here now. Let's put a little house here. Maybe let's put a barn. Let's kind of be inspired by this barn right there. So we'll make it a little bit small. Just kind of come like this. And then put a little window there, and then a door just like that. And then let's do something interesting here. Let's come out with a little bit of an angle like this, you see? Parallel, just like that. This will make our picture, it will change it up just a little bit. I think that will add a lot of interest. And then over here we'll add the silo. All right. Come down here, and maybe there's the opening of our covered bridge, and then I don't know about you where you live, but we live, of course, in middle of Pennsylvania. And it's a real treat is that we have a lot of covered bridges around here that are still intact, and that's something that I didn't have growing up. I actually grew up in California, so to have things like that is pretty remarkable. I don't know if covered bridges are common every place in the United States, but it's kind of fun having it here. Okay, let's see. There's another little house here, so let's make a little house here, small. Little window, little door. come over here maybe and I don't think I got a little church at the bottom down here, but I don't know if there's going to be room. So we're going to have to leave that little church out. But what we could do is we still could put like a little graveyard, and we'll put a crooked tree here maybe. That would be kind of have a spooky feel to it. So just come over here, put another round here, and then put like a little trunk here like this. And then I'm going to make some gravestones. All right, let's come in here and get this body of water. So this is going to be a lake down here, and we're going to just come in here with a nice big curve. And then up here now, let's do this. Let's come around like this. So let's start right here. This is going to be a river that feeds into the lake right there. And then here we'll come around like this. And then of course, let's come up, let's put some hills here. Okay, so here's this little farmland here. So let's put a hill just like that. And then you've got this little piece of property here. This is like Grandpa's. That's where Grandpa goes if he wants to get away from Grandma, right? All right. All right, so let's come over here. So we got that. Let's come over here with a hill coming on this side here. So we'll put a hill behind Grandma's house like this. And up here, this is going to be an ocean over here. Okay, so let's add one more hill here, like a mountain or something. That's going to be way behind Grandma's house, but this is going to be an ocean up here. All right, now we got to do a path. So a path from Grandma's house. So we're going to come like this. And it's going to come over here into the woods. And then this path is going to circle around like this. It's going to go through. It's going to go through the covered bridge here. This is going to come out on this side here. Okay, let's go ahead and break this up a little bit more. I'm going to come in here like this with another band of farmland or farming there. And I think I'm going to put over here a lake. Okay. Look at all that fun stuff we just put in. Now, I was testing some things out. So the other tool that you might want to go get, if you is just get a ballpoint pen someplace. I was trying different like line weights, and I found that the ballpoint pen seems to be working pretty good. Okay, let's go ahead and start painting. We're ready to paint here, so that's enough detail in here. I'm going to start with a nice big brush so I could get like a lot of my colors quickly. And I'm going to have three different greens. Three different greens I want to make. So let's get some water in our brush here. And let's start with, I'm going to move this out of the way here so you can see my paints as I'm mixing them. I'm going to grab some of this green right here. This is a nice dark green. And we'll start with a whole bunch of that. I also have a paper towel right nearby if I need it. All right, let's get some yellow in this. All right, that's a nice green right there, I think. You know what I also want to do before we go too much further? Let me grab a spare. Yeah, because I like to test my colors before I put them down. So that's a good green right there. All right, let's go ahead and mix up another green. I'm going to put it right next to it. And this green I'm going to make here, I'm going to make it a little bit on the browner side. So it won't be as bright as the one next to it. So I've got green here. In order to brown something in watercolor, you want to paint the opposite. So the opposite color of green is red. So look, here's some red here. Let's add a little bit of red to this. All right, that browned it up quite nicely, I think. All right, let's go ahead and add maybe a little yellow to that. Look at that, nice. All right, let's see what that looks like. Oh, look at that. That's a nice variation. In fact, I want it even darker than that. So let's add some more green back into that. There it is. Look at that. All right, now we get a nice forestry green. All right. All right, let's get one that's really yellow, really yellow. So we'll just put a bunch of yellow here. I bet you that's going to look good. Look at those. Okay, so we've got three nice greens. This one, and this one, all right? Now, currently this one is going to be really dark, so we're going to have to add more water to that to water that down, but we'll use that as it is right now. Okay, so I'm going to take my brush. I've got my paper towel. I'm going to dab it to take some of the moisture out, and I'm going to start with this bright green right here. And I'm going to paint all the green around Grandma's house here. And I'm doing it carefully here. And all I'm really doing is I'm just pushing the paint around my paper. Okay. Sometimes watercolor will pull up. You see how it's pulling in there? And if you want to get rid of that, all you have to do is dab your brush and then use your brush almost like a sponge. You see, and it will pick up that pulling if you need to. Okay, there's that one. Now let's see here. This is going on this side too. Let's get that. All right, let's see here. Antonine is here. Well, welcome. And Christina, hello. Tony and Sarah. All right, we've got everyone else I have said greetings to. All right, so we got that. Great, look at that. How exciting is that? Let's go ahead and grab our lighter color green and maybe come in here. Now, be careful that you don't mix your colors. So you really have to be careful that you don't let the water touch. If the water touches the other colors, it will bleed into each other, and we want that. We don't want that. We want a variety of greens here in our fields. While I'm at that, I'm going to go ahead and use that same green maybe for this here, and I'm very careful. I don't want that to touch the green on top there. Okay, excellent. I'm going to use the darker green underneath that. So I'm going to add a little more water because I already know that that is on the darker side. When you add water to watercolor, you can look at that right there. You dilute it so there's not as much pigment. A darker color is the result of having more pigment to water. All right, so let's come in here now. Yep. Again, I want to be careful of that edge. Now, if a safer way to do this would be to let these each layer dry before you put on the next bit of color. But for the sake of time, we're going to just take a shot. And I'm kind of careful of my outline, but sort of also I'm not really worried about it too much. I think there's a quality you could, with these little maps, there is a quality that you can be kind of loose on the edges. Okay, great. All right, I'm going to use the same color here, okay, in the next level. That same light color here. Just pushing the paint around. Okay. And as long as I'm still here, let's go ahead and paint this mountain up on top here. Okay. And I'm also going to go ahead and paint this tree right here, I think. All right. Let's get some variation here. I'm going to grab some of this yellow ochre here. Look at this. I'm just going to put it right here. And if you don't have that, you can always just grab a little bit of red, grab a little bit of red, grab a little bit of yellow, and you can get something very similar. What does that look like before we... Okay, that looks pretty good. This kind of is our... This is the area of our graveyard. So I want it to, yeah, that looks good. Be almost kind of dried out. I'm going to paint right over this tree this time, and I'll show you why in just a second. All right, look at that. Wow, excellent. Okay, we got all that. Let's come up here now, add some color into our houses as we make our way back down toward the bottom. So up here, let's go ahead and grab a little, you could use either a gray or a light brown. So there's a bit of a a raw, what is that right there? That's a raw umber. Don't worry about the names, just try and get the colors. So this would be like a thatched roof up there. Oh yeah, that looks good. Okay. And I think I'm going to paint this tree that same color there. A lot of these colors, what we're doing is we got to get Grandpa's hut to match what Grandma's house is. All right. That's more black. Let's grab some black here. Darker gray. Okay, what does that look like? Let me just test this. That might be a little, I'm gonna add a little more water to this. Okay, now we can, yep, that looks pretty good. This is the roof of our, and there's too much water here, so I just dab my brush into the paper towel, and look, your brush will be like a sponge. Okay. There's our red barn here in just a minute. Okay, we got that. And I'm going to go ahead and add this color to the tree there. And even I'm going to throw it on top of that one there. Get some variety back here. Okay, look at that. It's coming together nicely. All right, let's see. What did I forget? Look at this little bit of land here. All right. Let's go ahead and get our ocean in here now. All right, so I'm just gonna add some water up here and add some blue to this. I'm gonna try this. What is this here? This is ultramarine, no? Persian blue and ultramarine. These have little names down here. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Let's see what that looks like. Oh yeah, that's nice. Add a little bit. That's a little too dark, so I'm going to add a little more water to it. So this up here is going to be an ocean. So we got to come in here like this. Okay. And I'm starting to get a little sloppy, so I have to kind of like be careful. Here's my river now. We're going to use the same color that we're using for our ocean. Okay, come right down here. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, we're gonna let that sit there for a second. Oh, you know what? There's our lake. We gotta get our lake too. And while we're at it, hey, listen, do me a monster favor, because this particular video is for the public to see. What I really need you all to do is to make sure you comment, you like, and subscribe to it, especially when we're done. So leave a comment if you like this style of illustration. If you want to do maybe a winter scene, let me know if you want to do this again on another day. But yeah, please leave a comment. That way we'll get a little bit more legs under it, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to grab some of this color here. This is going to be for our path. Oh yeah, that's good. All right. I just, so there's a different variation from that brown down below. You see that? All right, this is the path to grandmother's house. And look, we're going to go through the woods. Up here. Okay. I'm just going through using my brush to kind of pick up some of that puddling that's going on. All right, don't worry if it's sloppy. It's the sloppiness will add to the extra detail, okay? This is not supposed to be like hyperrealism by any means. All right, look, I'm going to put some red here. This is going to be for our barn and our covered bridge. All right, I'm going to add a little yellow to that maybe. All right, what does that look like? That's too cool. It's too blue, so I'm going to add a little more yellow to that. Maybe even throw a little bit of this orange there. All right, let's come back with a little bit of red now. How does that look? Okay, I think I like that better. A little more warmer in reds. Okay, now this one you're going to have to be a little, it's pretty dry, so be careful here. Don't keep this in the lines because this red is really strong. Most of the other colors that we're using are very much close to the same value, but this has a much stronger intensity to it. And then we'll do the same thing for our barn here. All right. All right, looks good. One thing I want to do here, I'll grab a little bit of this, and we forgot to get this one tree in the background here, so kind of has an autumn feel to it. Okay, looking good. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and I think some of that is going to start drying up so we can switch over. Now what I'm going to do is for this, I'm going to switch over now to a ballpoint pen. Now the ballpoint pen won't work on a wet surface. So you want to make sure that whatever you're drawing your ballpoint pen on, it's dry. The other thing too is the only reason why I'm doing it this way is mainly for time. If you could now you could go into great detail. I mean, we've only scratched the surface of what you could do, and you could add multiple different layers of paint, experiment what you might get, and you would be really surprised of what kind of variations that you can come out of this. But let me do this. Let me move this out of the way and slide this over here. Slide our little cheat sheet that I made, okay? So let's go ahead and start. Let's start with this. This is pretty dry down here. So I'm going to start with this tree. Now, I want this to be an old crooked tree. So how would we do that? So first thing I'm going to do is just come in here and draw like that base, okay? Now watch now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here, a single line. You see that? And then I'm going to draw right on top of that line and make it thicker as it comes right down into the base. Then we're going to do another one right here. Boom. Look at this. Nice, thick. All right. And I go to the tip, I come back a little bit, and I come out to the edge, just like that. all the way out to the edge. Remember, this is an old dead tree, so it has no leaves on it. Right here to the edge. And you can even put some like little bits of little teeny strokes. See what I did there? And then these, look at these little tombstones. I'm gonna just kind of put a couple lines underneath those. You see that? And then I'm gonna put some grasses, and I'm gonna group these grasses together in this little area here. So you could come in here and make all these grasses with a darker color or a colored pencil or something like that. You see what I mean? All right, the water is nice and dry here. So I'm going to come in here with some waves. And I'm even going to, I drew a little, look at this. I drew like a little duck over here. You see this? So we'll put a little duck. Look, it's just a simple shape like this. And then the head and then a beak, just like that. Maybe another one right here, facing the other way. And I just thought of, as I was drawing this, you know, they have tules. So let's put a little thing like that. Nice thick grasses here with tules. Okay. The water's coming down here, so I'm going to just put some squiggles like this. How's my barn? How's my... We'll come back to that. I don't think that's quite dry yet. Okay. Come over here to my lake now. We'll put some other little things like this. Okay, and maybe give that a little bit of outline. This is interesting. Let's jump up here to our barn here. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to define my opening here, and then I'm not going to fill that completely in. I'm just going to, look what I just did there. I kind of made an interesting silhouette of maybe like, you know, maybe there's something on the inside of the barn and I can add some stripes to that, you see? Here's my window at the top. Look how loose I just did that. Look what I just did there. See, I didn't even follow the lines. What's great about this is, could you imagine if you, as I was doing this, I was thinking like, boy, if you had a trip to Disney, let's say you went to Disneyland with a family and you wanted to create something. Could you imagine drawing like a whole map of Disney World or something like this? Or a vacation spot that you went to? Look at this, here comes our... It would be a real treat to do something like that, frame it up and give it to somebody. Okay, let's come over here to the tree. Ooh, I just I just realized something. How late it's getting. I might have to cut this short. No, I know I'm gonna have to. Look, all right, look at this. I'm looking at this tree here. I'm gonna put a tree right over here. So I'm just matching what I have over here, almost just like what I did down here, but now I'm gonna, look at this. Make these branches here. And you could even, look at that, intermix some leaves here. Look at that. They don't have to be all branches, you see? That's gonna be our forest here. And then over here, what if we made some leaves like this? All right, so I'm slowly making my way up the path here, right? All right, here's our other tree over here. Let's do something similar. All right, and this one, maybe I'm just going to put little dots. All right, so there's my forest. Okay, let me do this now. So up here, this is going to be our river, okay? I mean our ocean, and you could even make for yourself like a sailboat over here. Look at that. And down, this is farmland down here. So look at this. Look at this little example of a farmland here. You see? So let's kind of put a square in here maybe, and I'm gonna come this way, and then I'll make like a cabbage here, and I mean, in some ways you throw perspective completely. You throw perspective out the window here. All right. All right. We're going to maybe, so then this is in this area here, I think I'm going to put long grasses. Maybe group some together here. This grandpa's house here is going to have a thatched roof. So we'll just put some thatched roof on there like this. Okay. So you can see how I keep adding more and more detail to my map, and it just keeps getting, with the more and more detail I add, the more interesting it gets. Look at these, the path here. This is the path to grandmother's house, where I'm going to add dots maybe to it, stones. You could even put a row of fences here. Up here at grandma's house, you could put maybe on her field, mounds. Maybe some flowers. You see? See, it's all slowly coming together. And I hate to say it, but I have got to, I know we're not done yet, but I'm going to have to call it quits because I got someplace I got to go. But here, let me show you this. So this one over here is, I did this earlier, okay, to kind of test out some ideas. And you could pick up some ideas from here and add them to this. But that should kind of get you going here to draw your map today. I hope you enjoyed that. If you're not part of our Facebook group, you should join it and post your work. I'd love to see it. But just wanted to give everyone a heads up and say hello. My name's Kurt. I'm a Dad Who Draws. Please do like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I will see you guys later. Now go out there, make your day great. Okay, bye-bye.